Oh, we're going.
Oh, we're live now? God
All
damn it,
right.
you always do that.
It's a good warm-up.
I know, she always does that.
All right.
Hello, Saeid.
Hello, sir.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Brian. How are you?
I'm good. It's very nice to have you on here.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. One of my things that I was looking forward to is like someone that's good at talking.
Oh, damn.
And someone that...
I was told I was good at talking.
Yeah. I like how we were joking around the other day about like, I like to talk to my clients and like, we're a good team, you listen and I talk.
That's usually how it goes. One person takes the lead on talking and the other guy's enjoying and good at listening.
Yeah. I love listening. It relieves me of having to entertain or anything like that.
Taking the pressure off. Yeah. And I feel that pressure, so maybe that's the reason I'm talking so much.
But I think you're going to have to speak more in English than Danish so I can actually like steer the conversation.
Yeah.
Put in
the
my
shop,
2 cents.
Yeah, I'm talking a lot of Danish, but sometimes the clients kind of like enjoy talking in their own language, and
I know, I'm just being selfish.
I know. I like that thought. We're more English-speaking people in the shop, actually.
Yeah.
Funny enough, in Denmark.
But it's funny, the shop that we're at, we're both working at Royal Tattoo, and I just started working before you, and it was kind of nice having you in there because it was like the eyes are off for me for once, or at
now
least that's
Jake.
how it felt. Yeah, it's Jake.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah. It's always not that funny to be the last guy, but at the same time, it's always fun to have this first period of time in new shop. I love it. It's the best time in my experience.
Yeah.
It's this. Yeah.
And where were you working before?
Bright Side Tattoo in Copenhagen.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful shop in a beautiful Christianshavn, right beside beautiful Christiania. Yeah. A lot of you guys have visited there.
Yeah. I've only been once. And
really?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because I didn't know what to expect. I looked online and I saw that there was like those houses that were built on the water, and most of them were all built by like the owners.
It used to be a military base.
Really?
Yeah, in 70s used to be a military base. Actually, before 70s, and then in 70s the hippies took over the place and just concreted the place. Like that's our place now. So.
Do you know why it has become like an autonomous area? Like, was it always that way? You don't know.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. It's just I just know that they've been fighting for having the space to keep it for Christianian people, but the government wanted the land. Of course, it's a beautiful central place in Copenhagen.
Yeah. And
at the end, they made actually shares, so people could buy shares, and they actually bought the land.
Wow.
But now they're picking on the Pusher Street, which is like, it's not legal activity, but they sell weed and whatever kind of stuff. Not drugs, hard drugs. Hard drugs are actually, that's the funniest thing. The whole country has been trying to keep away drugs. It never happened really. No. But in Christiania, they have been drug free in 30 years.
Wow.
More than 30 years. So it's the only thing happens is there is weed, and it's obvious and everybody knows about it.
It's very obvious. I was taken aback because I was walking down the street and I never realized that people could just have lemonade stands with pounds of weed and hash. It's almost
like you're going through a bazaar of weed.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. And I mean, it's a very small part of Christiania. That's something what people don't realize is that a lot of people just think is like a mini Amsterdam. You can just, it's again the same with Amsterdam. People combine it with weed,
right?
Where it's a beautiful city, and the
really
same
pretty.
thing with Christiania. Like people see it as a weed, like let's go there and get stoned or whatever. But there is actually more into it. There is a lot of beautiful art there. There's a lot of good musicians who started there. A lot of nice graffiti around, and it's worth to see.
I gotta visit more. Because the first experience I had, I was like, oh, I think I gotta hold my pockets and look behind my shoulder.
That's the funniest thing, because if you go to the cafes, they have these stickers around which says no violent, no drugs, and no photos, I guess.
Yeah, I saw the no photo one, but I think that's more for
that's for
people
Pusher Street. Yeah. No, the rest of Christiania you can actually take pictures, and that's the funniest thing is like a people-owned place. So whenever you go to someone's garden and you like it, you just go in there
Really?
Yeah, you can talk to people. Whoever lives there, if you see them on your way, you can talk to them and they would be so polite to you. The thing is, the place started at some point it was a place for people who felt different in this society.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be everywhere from handicapped people to alcoholics to whatever kind of people who weren't accepted in the society, who would go there and feel free. And that's still what it is, if you ask me.
Is it all like Danes or like
it's
foreigners?
different people, foreigners too. A lot of foreigners people. Like there is a kebab place there who does sick good falafels, and that place is owned by 3 generations. It's the 3rd generation right now.
Wow.
It's an old place. It's not like they didn't die they didn't die on the way. It's like 30 years.
Wow.
Still is not that long, but there is like 3 generations who took over the place, didn't let it go out of the family hand,
Mm-hmm.
which is really nice, I guess.
That's
and plus
incredible.
the whole community is paying the same rent. So if you live there, you pay the same amount of money for whatever apartment you live in. Yeah. But you don't choose where you live or which apartment you live in, and you have to take care of your own house. You don't get it fixed or whatever. But I mean, I've heard something about 1,200 Danish kroners, which is nothing.
That's nothing.
Yeah. You can't have anything like that in Copenhagen.
No.
Regular rent is like 10, 15,000.
And I've seen all these other outside of Christiania, but these little like commune areas of these tiny house villages.
Oh, those are like colony gardens.
Yeah.
This
live
is
there?
a different case. You can live there. It's not legal. Most of them is like only summertime, but there is places you can live whole year.
Right.
It's different case. It's
Yeah.
legal stuff.
I saw a few on the way to the airport where like all along the train you see all these different houses, but they look like people live there. They have chimneys and you can see the smoke coming out of the chimneys.
Yeah, people does live there, and a lot of those places where it's only summertime permission to live there, people still live there in wintertime because the whole community kind of like agrees that fuck that rule, we're just gonna live there, so they just do that. And they have address other places or something like. A lot of my clients used to have houses like that, and it's actually really nice idea because it's so expensive to have a house with garden in Copenhagen. You need to be a director or something like crazy, like millionaire kind of to have a house.
Man.
So for those people to have a small house with a garden is really
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do they have anything like that on the mainland of Denmark?
Yeah, it's the same.
Same
Yeah,
everywhere.
but nothing like Christiania.
No,
It's
I don't-
most like this colony. What is it called? Like gardens we can rent. It's actually rented as gardens, like summer garden. You can go there and keep grow herbs or whatever, not wheat. But it's like people build houses there and then they can live there for summertime, just like a summer house.
Yeah, I see a lot of that down the street from us here, where all along the beach they have all the like small cabins, but also like the RV park area.
A lot of those is also owned by in this town particularly is owned by Swedish people because it's like summer houses. They come for vacation and stuff. It's easy to come here, cheap for them to come here. So
I would totally live in one like year round. Because it's tiny. I love that idea of having like the little tiny house.
Right around the water and everything is beautiful. I mean, Denmark is one thing you can say good about it is the nature.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. The water, the trees, everything is like the nature is so wild. I like that.
Yeah, especially here in Helsingør.
Yeah.
Because we have
mainland is worse. It's not worse, but it's more like green and like everything. Like there's tons of big woods around and like really nice. Yeah.
It's cool since I started living here, knowing the different zones and like the name of the mainland and the island, like because Copenhagen is part of a landmass that's on an island.
Yeah, it's an island called Sealand. Yeah.
It's funny, all my friends back home, they're always like, how's Holland? How's Germany? And everywhere but here.
Yeah, I mean Denmark. Nobody can really I heard in States then that limited people know where Denmark is. They think it's Germany. And
I see so many funny videos on YouTube of like people getting stopped on the street and saying, "Name a country, anywhere," And they show a whole map of the globe, and nobody can name one country.
Yeah.
And the one thing people would get was like, they were like, oh, Africa. And they're like, no, that's a continent.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Can you name the country, or can you show me the country that we're in right now?
Oh, wow. They couldn't point that out.
No, of course they were probably showing the dumbest of the dumb, but
Wow.
to me it was just amazing. And then at the very end, they had this little kid who was naming off all the different countries and the capitals of all the different smaller countries and all the cities. It was incredible.
It's those people are there, man. Like, even though you wouldn't believe it, there is people like that around.
Yeah.
And that's...
But for me, like, I have to go somewhere and I have to experience the place and
Definitely.
So most of my knowledge comes from firsthand experience of that place, and it's very hard for me just to like sit down and say, "Oh, I'm going to study the globe."
But you can't do that either. I've been living in three different countries right now for a longer period at a time, and it wasn't really my choice, but I've been doing that. For you, it's been a choice. Yeah. For me, it's been like I'm 28 years old, so I'm quite young, I would say.
I'm young too, man.
Yeah, you are young too, but I'm just talking about me now. You know?
You had that look in your eye.
Yeah, no, you're young, man. You know, you're as young as me. You know, yeah. Anyway, on my way to Denmark, I've been living in Turkey and I've been living in Iran, and I was born in Dubai, actually.
Wow.
Originally, I'm from Iran, and you know, you can't really study about a country. Nobody can tell you about a country before you actually been there.
Right.
Because before coming to Denmark, a lot of information was given to me by my dad, by books, everything around, but none of them was actually what I experienced here. And so I guess you're right. I mean, why the hell bother sitting there trying to study about a country when you can go there?
Yeah.
You know, and now we live in a country that, I mean, in a world that you can buy a ticket for $200 and then go to somewhere, the other side of the world, kind of, you know.
Yeah, so that's the added benefit of living here. And we're really close to the airport, so it's very easy just to buy that ticket. And all over Scandinavia, it's probably like an hour, 2 hours to anywhere.
Hell yeah,
and it's cheap. It's cheaper than like the Eurail. I think. Going from one place to the other in Italy, it can cost about the same amount of money as buying a ticket from Copenhagen to Venice.
Copenhagen airport is quite big too.
Yeah, but I feel pretty blessed in this time that we can actually do that.
Yeah, because actually we were listening to Henning because we were in the convention for a few weeks ago in Odense, which is like in one of the islands in Denmark. And he was up in the stage and having a kind of talk show before the convention started for the tattooers and explaining his way to what he became.
Yeah.
And then he was saying that at the time he started going to States, it was like going to Mars. Nobody really thought that you could do it.
Right.
You know, like it wasn't possible really. It was only like business people and really rich people who did it. And he actually went and did it. That's the advance we have right now that we don't really appreciate, which is...
Yeah, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
It's part of a life now.
Exactly.
And I see that now with a lot of the tattooers nowadays that are just living on the road. And when I first started tattooing, there was only a small amount of people doing it, but they always seem to have like some sort of home base. But now it's just kind of the norm where people just, you know, maybe work at one shop regularly, but they're all around. And
I mean, I envy those people.
Yeah.
I would like to try it at some point, but I became a dad quite early.
Yeah, you got settled down.
Yeah, I have a 4-year-old daughter, so
which is so cute.
I love my daughter, and she's never in my life, I mean, in my eyes, been like a limit for me or in anything. She's different case, but anyway, it's like those people have it a bit easier now than I mean, the other day I tattooed Alex in our shop, and Alex kick-ass tattooer from Canada.
Yeah.
And she's been doing that for a year in Europe now.
Yeah, on a motorcycle.
Yeah, on a motorcycle, and she's been doing a good job, and it's because she's a very social person, lovable person, and she had the opportunity to do it, so she just went and do it and did it, and you know, back in the days you had to work like half a year to afford one of the tickets, you know. So
I was looking at her Instagram, and she posted recently the map of all of her travels. And I didn't realize how far she actually had gone.
She went around
all the way down to Spain.
Yeah.
All around Italy. Incredible. All the way up here, even further north to Sweden.
For sure. Yeah, further north to Sweden. Yeah, that's what she did. It's amazing.
On a motorcycle. I think,
a motorcycle, yeah.
What is it, like 10,000 kilometers or more? I don't know. But
that's a
whole year traveling and tattooing. That's pretty intense.
That's impressive too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think what I meant with envying those people is not like I can't do it because I have a family. It's also that the energy they put in it is amazing, that you can just keep on doing that in a whole year without feeling like, fuck, I feel like going home now. You know, enough is enough. You know?
Yeah, it takes quite a bit of planning, I would imagine.
It does.
Something I don't have.
But I know that she changed her plans on the way too, and she stayed some places longer and stuff. I think that's something that happens in the way. But you know, it's just something that I would like to do at some point. I think. I guess. I don't know. Maybe.
There's still time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm young, 28.
Yeah. And tell me about Dubai. Was it as it is now? Like crazy built up?
I don't know much about it because I was 3 when we moved out, so I don't remember, obviously. But I've seen pictures, and my mom told me a lot about it. Of course, it's not the same as remembering myself, but she was telling me it was a desert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back then it was just for oil sheikhs and like a whole lot of royal family was citizens, and then a lot of people came there to actually start businesses and build it up, a lot of stuff. And then all of a sudden all these hotels appeared, and my family was actually back in Iran before it became what it is now.
Right.
I've heard it's like back in that time you would go to Oman to have fun. So
what's that?
It's like a neighbor country, town, city, whatever. So it's kind of weird these places, because it's not really a city, it's not a country. It's I don't get it really.
It's like Vegas for them.
I guess I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of like traveling in between these places. I think it's because there is like 2 different kings, families and stuff. You know, so. Wow. Yeah, my dad did some work for did some artwork for the king of Oman in his time when he was living in Dubai. He was a surgeon at that time, but he still did his art.
Your father was a surgeon.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So he does this kind of a traditional Persian art based on miniature. Persian miniature is called. And
what does that look like? Is it what's it painted on?
Basically, like you have a painting. Let's say he did a portrait of this king with wood. So he would have like plates of wood, 2 millimeters wide plates, and he would have a stencil of the face, and then he would cut off this stencil, and then different tones of trees, which means like different sort of trees. He would cut off with this stencil he did, and then he would put it all together as a puzzle and put a thick layer of polyester on it and polish it, and it would be like wood on top of glass. I mean, under glass. Wow. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Very
art.
Polished, almost like a mosaic in a way, or is it painted?
It's actually like puzzle with wood, to be honest.
Wood inlay.
Yeah. And then you have the big, thick polyester on top, which is like polished into like as shiny as you can get it, you know. So
was that something that he had learned from his family before?
No, actually that's the funniest thing. He was taught by the royal painter in Iran back in the time when there was a what's it called, king family in Iran, because back in the days it used to be what's it called, monarchy, right? Yeah, it used to be monarchy. So he was apprentice of the royal painter at that time, and that's one of the reasons he had to run away to Denmark, because when they figured that he was working for the king, Shah, actually, he had to run away.
Really?
Yeah. So because they killed everybody who worked for that guy. Wow. For Shah. So
incredible.
That's crazy stuff.
And it's pretty bizarre. I guess we were talking about it before, like a guy from Iran living in Denmark.
Oh yeah.
As a tattooer.
Yeah. I mean, I have long ass dreadlocks.
Yeah.
And I have them for a reason, because like every time I was going to a taxi and the guy was like, "Where are you from?" and I was going Iran, and he would look at my hands, seeing my tattoos. He would be like, "Aren't you Muslim?" I'll be like, "Yeah." Then I had to explain him that I didn't really believe in anything, and then they would go, "Oh, that's not right. You can't do that. Let me tell you about life." And then I would be lectured for life, and like, I mean, I was just tired of it. So now people think I'm from South America.
Yeah, I hear so many people like they were like, "Oh, he's from Spain?"
Yeah, I had this guy in the convention coming to me, like a reporter actually. He was like, "Where are you from?" He told me in English, "You ready for interview?" And I replied him in Danish because I could see he was talking Danish to another guy. I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready." And he was like, "Oh, I thought you were from Jamaica." I was like, "No, I'm sorry, I'm from Denmark. I live here." And then he goes, "All right, I'll be back." And then he went away. I don't know where he went, so it was funny.
You have an impressive mane of dreadlocks, so I can see why maybe he might draw those connections. But
it's long. It's quite long.
It's impressive. Coming from a guy that his hair is escaping him day by day.
No, Brian, you look good. Believe me.
That's why I got a new hat.
Yeah, royal hat.
Speaking of which, we had wonderful hats that just came in from for Royal, and super cool. I got the black on black.
Black on black. Yeah. That's gonna be a popular one, I think. I think that's gonna go fast.
That one's gonna go first, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, I want the black and black."
Oh, damn,
I'll
sold out.
The red or the white one, but yeah, man.
We'll see.
Some of the most fun I have working with you is just watching you put on a stencil.
Oh, damn. But I mean, I guess I haven't, funny enough, doing dot work, I haven't worked with that many dot work tattooers.
No.
So
you have to figure it out all on your own.
I had to figure it out all on my own. And not only that, also, I don't really know how long they spend on it.
Right.
So I feel like an ass every time trying to put a stencil on. Mm-hmm. But I'm also really trying to do it as precise as you can get it, and obviously a lot of dot work stuff is about stencil, having the right stencil.
No, it's incredible. I was just looking at your stencil and getting vertigo. Like my eyes couldn't focus.
Oh yeah.
I was like, how can you look at this actually, for 5 to 6 hours?
That's one of those things that's really annoying with this dot work thingy too, because my girlfriend was actually back in the days one of my biggest judges, like, what do you think about this drawing? She'd be like, yeah, I like it or I hate it. Now she goes, get it away, I get headache. So it's like,
it makes your stomach move.
She goes, my eyes are getting fucked up, man, get it away from me. So I have to do everything by myself now.
But it doesn't look like that on the skin. It's
once
just
the dots
layout.
get in there, it makes it much more. I actually would say is really comfortable for the eyes to look at.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons I kept up doing the dot work. It's time taking, and especially getting used to it. It takes shitloads of time. It's just lots of hours of working over, because you started a mandala you can't finish.
Sure.
So you worked until 10, 11 in the evening.
In that sense, it would be kind of like a portrait in a way, where like you just can't leave the eyes off.
I could leave it, but I was just too stubborn. That's how I am with learning to tattoo. I just sit there, try until I get it right. So I did that for many days, missed a lot of nights putting my daughter to bed because I had to try this and that technique, which never actually worked. At the end I figured dot work is just about getting used to it. There is no techniques involved in that way. It's just getting used to it.
Yeah, but what you were saying about like thinking that you're taking too much time, I'm thinking the same thing, because whenever I look at other people's work and like the styles that I like to do, I'm always assuming that they're like doing it 10 times faster, but I don't think so. When I really think about it, and the more people I work with, we're all taking as much time as it needs to be.
Yeah,
done.
that's for sure. I mean, at least for when I'm doing not geometrical based tattoos, I do it a whole lot faster too, and I see a lot of people do it the same kind of speed as me.
Yeah.
Freehanding stuff is so different, in my opinion. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it's faster.
Yeah.
For your case, you're doing a lot of background in Japanese stuff.
Yeah, most of the time I'll maybe stencil the foreground or the main subject and then just draw everything else on.
Yeah, and that's I think you have to take your time doing it. I don't know if other people take as long or not. I'm just wondering about it. I don't really care about it, I guess.
For me, I just practiced a lot drawing, like with a marker, like onto the image that I will be doing. I wouldn't use that as the final stencil, but it would at least get me in the zone to kind of understand where things are going to be placed. And I would purposely do it with like the Sharpie marker, because that's what I would be using on the skin.
Definitely.
But other than that, there's really nothing that's going to prepare you for the real thing. You just have to do it.
And that's the funniest thing with the fucking freehanding stuff. It's like you try, and then you're like, this is going to be easy. And then you start and you're like, oh, damn, it's not easy. Just like the waves that I did today, man. I spent hours on that drawing. At the end, I was like, nah, I'm going to stencil this thing.
But at the end, that's all that matters.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen people in places I've been working, in conventions, they struggled with some stencil, and then at the end, they just like look one side, and then they look the other side, and then they just start tattooing something that obviously doesn't look right. And I think it's better to take that extra hour to try to put the stencil on than just rush into doing something you're going to regret later. Yeah,
because once you take the photo of it, you're looking at it with a fresh eye. You're like, oh,
exactly.
I wish I had spent that time.
I mean, it's like that with all my tattoos still, but you know, you try to be as satisfied as possible. And when you know deep inside that you could have moved it tiny bit to the left and it would have done a better job, and you see it on a photo, or you see the person coming back, that's even worse. You like can look at it like, you don't want to be in that position. I mean, anyone there saying I never done that, you know, is lying. Everybody have done it that once or twice, and then be thinking like, fuck. Some of them learn by the mistakes, some didn't.
But as a disclaimer, like what you're talking about isn't like a full screw up. It's more like subtlety.
Stencil, like, because you know what, something I learned along the years I've been tattooing is that the size of the stencil and the placement of the stencil is as important as the design itself. Because if you put the right design in the right place, it's just gonna look amazing. If you put the right design in the wrong place, it's just gonna look okay. And you don't want to live with an okay tattoo. I'm always saying that if you make a tattoo that doesn't deserve a second look, you failed. Right. Because that's what tattooing is all about. You need to impress. And all those people saying that I'm doing it for myself, not fucking true. You're doing it for other people. You want to impress other people. That's how it goes.
I think nowadays, you know, you're definitely doing it for the client, but you're also doing it for, you know, the people that you look up to, and hoping they look at it and like it as well.
I would say anyone trying to be ambitious about something is because they want to, I don't know, come to a state of self, what's it called, like
realization or something.
Yeah, like something that you, and also on top of that, you want to have approval of other people.
Sure.
You know, if you're not really honest about that, I think you're gonna fail on your way.
Yeah, I think it's a balance, because sometimes that can be a hindrance, where if you're thinking about what people think too much, then it stifles you, and then you can't really put out something. And I read this book. It was actually a Stephen King book, and it wasn't about horror. It was about writing. And it's funny, I got a lot of inspiration out of it, because he talked about his writing process, where whenever he starts a book, he starts with the door closed. So meaning like he's just writing for himself. So just letting everything flow. Yeah. And then when he goes in for the second draft, that's when he opens the door. And so he's thinking about it as like, some other person is going to have to eventually read it. So how can I make this so that it can be interpreted or understood the way that I'm trying to put it across?
That's a very good way of looking at it, because sometimes doing tattoos is the same thing. You might do a lot of tattoos that's really impressive for other tattooers. Yeah. You know, but is your clients as impressed?
I think that's the case for big work. Yeah. Because I noticed, I'll go on Instagram and see people, like Japanese guys that have like bodysuit after bodysuit, and you look and they only have like 200 likes and only like a couple thousand followers, and it just blows my mind how these people aren't being applauded more. And and the more I think about it is, if you're like the normal client, you're not going to go for that, right?
That's the thing. People have to like. That's something I figured with the general people, is that they always try to imagine whatever they see in Instagram or whatever social medias as could I have that, could I wear that tattoo, could I pull off that tattoo. And whenever it's big tattoos, is limited people that actually imagine that, you know, like, because not that many people obviously like big tattoos.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know. It blows my mind. I try not to spend too much time thinking about it because I just can't figure it out.
I mean, that's other subject that I don't want to even
No,
talk about, because it's like so deep and you get so caught up in it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I hope that it's on his way to kind of be stabilized. I don't say disappear, because obviously we got a lot of good things out of it too.
Sure.
But I hope it's gonna be like more equal in the next few years. So,
but I mean,
we'll
so
see.
far, it's still really good.
Yeah.
You know, I think more people are busier than they have been a long time,
Yeah.
and more people are able to have a following of their own, and
For sure.
that's something huge. And with tattooing becoming more accepted, I guess, you know, it just brings more business, I guess, to us.
For sure. And also young people use it as other way of living too.
Yeah.
Which is also cool. You know, like they can, some good looking girl can make living of posting the pictures she would have done already. You know, so that's, I mean, whatever please people, I don't know. I don't know. I just started a new account because my old got fucked up, and people ask me like, what about the followers? I'm like, what about the followers? People who want to follow me, they would follow me, you know. Right. So
yeah, what is your new Instagram anyways?
It's Saeid Royal Tattoo, SAEID Royal Tattoo.
Royal Tattoo. Awesome.
Yes sir. All right, let's have a cigarette break.
You want to have a cigarette break?
Yeah, I like to have a cigarette.
All right, let's do that. All right, we're back from the smoke break.
Perfect.
Cool, man. I guess what I'd like to talk about next is how you actually got into tattooing, and how you kind of got to where you're at now with your current style.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's been a long ride.
Did you always have like dot work in mind?
No, I mean I started doing dot work for like around 5 years ago. I've been tattooing in only 10 years, so it's not like that long, but it's still, I've been around good people, I would say, you know, so that was pretty lucky. But I started doing dot work quite random, actually. That's the funniest thing. I just I was in this shop called Colorblind in Copenhagen, and it's a shop exists in the same place 15 years, small shop, not that crazy active with the guest artists or anything like that. And I had this guy asking for dot work on his elbow. And I was like, damn, that's a big ass start for dot work. All right, we can do it. And I did it, and I posted a picture of it. And same week, I had 3 more requests for it.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And then I got tattooed by Nazareno from Argentina on my neck. Yeah. And he did some killer job, and he gave me a lot of tips, and I was like, all right, let's give it a shot for real. And I started doing like 50-50 dot work and traditional, old school traditional stuff.
So when you first started tattooing, it's more like American traditional or
actually,
neo-traditional?
I mean, to begin with, I just did whatever style.
Yeah.
Shitty lines, gray, like really bad gray, and that's, you know, a lot of you out there started at home, and not that many of you would like to admit it, but for me it was the same. But then I got reported quite fast to the tax office.
that will put a damper on things right away.
Yeah, right. That's so I had to, like, you know, I actually quit tattooing for like 3 months or something like that, and then I went to a convention, got tattooed by this guy, Mazak, Mateusz Mazak, fucking good tattooer, good machine builder right now in Poland, Polish guy. He was living at that time in Denmark, and I asked him for a sleeve after that, and then he was like, I have another project going on with this guy, come over there and get tattooed. And I was like, what project? I'm going to start a tattoo shop. All right. I went there, got tattooed once, went back home, and then I went there again. And then there was this opening party for the shop. And then the owner of the shop, he came to me, he was like, so I heard you want to be an apprentice. I was like, do I? All right. and I got an apprenticeship there, and then just took off from there. And then I started actually doing some realistic work, because I had the opportunity to work with this really good Lithuanian realistic guy called Eddie Tattoos.
Yeah,
I think it's just called. I don't know, really old school guy, but really good at drawing realistic stuff and tattooing realistic stuff. And he taught me a lot about tones.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing a lot of realistic stuff. And at that time, actually, I went to Henning after I quit my other job to ask for a spot. And then he looked at my portfolio. He went, yeah, you got to go back there, get some more hair on your chest and come back again.
It's funny. I was just going to ask you, like, living in Denmark, like, that would be my first.
That was the first
shot.
Yeah, I mean, back before I started tattooing, I was copying his kois,
Yeah.
you know, just to
Me
try to like act like a tattooer, you know.
I just sent him a photo recently, because I was like repainting Flash, and I think it was from like 2001.
Yeah,
and I had taken his Flash and redrew it, repainted it. It was all awful.
I mean, that's something a lot of us that did at that time. I started in 2008, and at that time he was still the king, so I was looking up to him a lot. And actually, that's the funniest thing for me, working in Royal have been a goal and not at the same time, because it's been always kind of in my mind past what my goal would go. So after like 6 years later, going back to Henning, asking him like, hey, what about now? And he's hiring me. It's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
It's a really nice feeling.
And it's cool to watch you work there, because it seemed like as soon as you landed, you were off and running.
I'm a talker. I talk a lot.
I know it, but it helps.
It does, because, you know, that's one of those things I figured. I have a lot of few friends that I really look up to as tattooers, and some of them has been tattooing for many years, and obviously a lot of those guys who've been tattooing for many years, they have a lot of information that they discovered through years of tattooing. And it's not like you can, as a kind of like new beginner, go and ask them for shit.
Yeah.
But because I've been talking so much all the time, I was always that guy that was asking straight away. And people would be looking at me like with big eyes, he didn't. But I did, and it got me quite far, actually.
Yeah, it's the unspoken rule. You never ask. You get let in on some information.
I know, but
as time
why?
goes on.
You know, that's what I felt always, you know, because people would give me the impression that they like me. I've always been really good at reading this, because, you know, I'm always overjoyed, over happy.
Yeah, you're super positive.
And people might hate it, and once they hate it, they show it really obviously. So when people start liking me, I'm like, what? Why not ask? That's not gonna kill me. If they don't want to share, they would probably give me shitty information. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that was kind of the mentality. But now it seems like it's just freely given for the most part.
For the most part, yeah, it's not as easy, you know.
So that mentality is still kind of ingrained in me, where like I never ask.
Right.
You know, I always kind of offer first.
I mean, being around Henning as much as I do now, I feel it more, and I'm trying to be more like Saeid. Shut up. You know, but still it's just something that's pretty in me. I've always been very, very curious about everything, and I've always felt it's stupid not to ask, you know, because what you don't ask, you don't really gonna know.
Yeah. But one thing I think is one of the most valuable things working with Henning is just the history and the people
that's right.
that started tattooing when he was tattooing.
Hell yeah.
Or like the people that were tattooing before him.
Hell yeah.
Like that is amazing. I love chatting with him about old school guys.
For sure. And he would mention in one conversation, he would mention like 5-10 people I don't know. but still these people is worth to know because is a history, part of history. That's something actually is, in my opinion, is a shame that is being forgotten. I hope that people like us would keep it up and tell it to other people, so we just keep it going on, because right now tattooing is more about trying to build an image for yourself compared to back in the days. It wasn't handcraft. You needed to do stuff to get this information. And even though I ask a lot, even though I get it quite easy, I'm still appreciating it a lot, and I'm trying to treat it with respect. I wouldn't go to the next guy, hey, you heard about it? You know, that's nothing you can do really. No. So
yeah, but that's a valuable thing. And one of the things I love doing often is like looking at old work from the past, and like for me that stuff still moves me. And maybe someone just starting out, they would look at it and think it's dog shit. But I'm still inspired by it, because that was the stuff that it really impressed me when I started tattooing. You
know, I've been seeing Henning's clients coming back, and they have like bodysuits from almost all the ages he's been tattooing. And it's amazing to see how he's been following this time. And at that time, you might look at some stuff like these shiny eyes on the dragons. You wouldn't do it now, but he did it at that time because that was what you did.
Right.
A lot of now tattooers would look at these bodysuits thinking, I mean, but when you look at it in different way, at that time, everybody did it that way. You know,
it was
and
all groundbreaking.
Yeah, exactly. And that time, people brought this information here for you to see. And yeah, it's not appreciated in the same way anymore.
Yeah. But that's the value, I think, of always staying open and trying to learn. I feel more so now, I'm more and more open than I was 10 years ago. Like, I think my first 10 years of tattooing, I really felt like, oh, I think I know how to pull a line now.
Yeah.
Like, I finally felt confident. I had this like a eureka moment after 10 years. And it seems like every 5 years there's like a new eureka moment. And just being like with Henning and watching him work, he is always on fire, always inspired. And that's something that I want to do, because like, he's been tattooing 40 years and it's 20 more than me. And so I'm making mental notes and saying like, all right, continue with it, always stay inspired, always looking at what's going on.
Exactly. And that's I think the key for someone to work with whatever in many years. You know, whatever you do, if you're not as passionate about it as you used to be, at some point you're gonna burn out and stop doing what you're doing. At least stop being good at it. And once you stop being good at what you're doing, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah, and always pushing it. Like
always,
I've done a million dragons, and every time I approach a new dragon, it's a different thing. And the same thing goes with any motif.
Definitely.
I don't have a file that I like draw from.
You can't really. It's just. I think people saying, "Oh, I'm so comfortable with this that it's mine now." They're not doing anything good for themselves, thinking like that.
Right.
I think there is always space for trying to be better or learning something new. And I learned something new every day. I haven't obviously been tattooing for that long either, but it's still amazed me. Like Lobinho from our shop comes to me like, "Do this that way," and I'm like, "Whoa, how did that happen?"
Yeah.
And this
he blew my
happens to me
mind
a
today.
lot. Yeah, seriously, it happens every day.
Yeah, we were sitting around drawing water, and like, he can't speak English. I mean, he speaks well.
I think
enough
for him to explain stuff.
But when we interact, we're not really talking. We like sit down with the pencil and like show movements and flow and different gestures, and that's the way we're communicating.
And that's how we should be. I mean, you don't always have to use your words. I learned 2 languages from scratch in my time, and I know them perfectly. And I every time it was just on the way to learn the language, you just use whatever words you know. Yeah. And still, for most people, you could be able to have a conversation with them. But that's the beauty about art, that you can actually show what you mean. You don't have to use words.
Yeah.
And that's what I really, really, really like about this.
Yeah. I think that's for a lot of different forms of art, not
Yeah.
just
No, not just tattooing, everything. You
Yeah.
know, just like, you know, you're an oil painter, and I've freaking love your paintings, and
Thanks, man.
and seeing you doing something different. I never paint dot work when I'm tattooing. I mean painting. I don't like painting dot work. It's taking so long time. I paint something different. I paint some fantasy
Sure.
stuff, you know.
I think it has to be different, or else you'll go crazy.
Exactly. You're doing what you're doing all the time. I mean, I see a lot of tattooers do flashes, and I'm thinking, fuck yeah, hell yeah, good for you. I just couldn't.
It was funny, there was a period of time where I was doing a little bit more oil painting. I think I was dividing my time, and amongst like the oil painting community, I was known as the tattoo guy, and in the tattoo community, I was known as the painting guy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I do both. Like, I'm not picking one or the other. They're just interests of mine.
That's how it goes, you know. I mean, like, it's funny because a lot of people put this tag on you that you're this guy, you're this tattooer, and you know, you're the dot work tattooer, and they expect me to have like tons of dot work prints, you know, and I'm like, no, not really. I have a lot of other prints if you'd like to, and you know, I think it's a shame that you try to limit yourself like that,
totally.
You know, or other people. Like,
yeah, people would always say to me like, why aren't you doing realistic work?
Yeah.
And it's just not how I see tattooing.
No.
I guess the best analogy is like for a sculptor, and you know, a sculptor is not going to sculpt every little strand of hair.
No,
they're going to sculpt like the form or the ribbon of a hair, and it's going to be made in a way where it casts a shadow that it gives the impression of hair.
Exactly.
But if you were to go in there and sculpt every little hair, it's going to look messy. It's
exactly.
You know,
and it's the same with tattooing in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I guess the way I would approach tattooing is more how I think of it, like longevity reasons. I know from experience of tattooing things like light and loose.
Fire.
Yeah, it's not going to last over time, and so it's mostly built out of necessity. It's like I want that thing to look as good the day I put it on, you know, to 20 days. I mean, 20 years after. But yeah,
I guess it's something that you kind of like decide for yourself if you want to be that guy who's doing the tattoos, which is gonna look good for the rest of the life of that person, or you can live with having something which is gonna lose some tones and look. That's one of the reasons I stopped doing realistic stuff, because I love realistic tattoos. They look good and all kinds of
amazing
stuff.
Amazing to look at.
And yes, they are, especially the first 5 years or so. Depends who's doing it. But right nowadays, I mean, I am working in Denmark, and in Denmark you have to do whatever. Sometimes you do dot work, sometimes you do a portrait of someone's dog.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm doing something not dot work related, and it have to be looking realistic, I'm putting some outlines. It doesn't look as photorealistic as it used to be back in the time, because I saw all these tattoos coming back, and I had to put 1 or 2 hours of touch up in each and every one of them, because they all came back too light. A lot of tones were missing that didn't give the same effect anymore. And I'm talking 5 years later.
Wow.
So
yeah, it's something to consider, I think.
Exactly, because, you know, it's something that these people have to... I'm looking at Henning's arms a lot. And he's been around for many years, so he's got some stuff that's old. And I'm thinking for myself, my clients have to walk around with their tattoos as long as Henning. But in Henning's time, you would put tons of small stuff on top of each other because you wouldn't waste any space. So I guess, you know, seeing his arm and seeing my tattoos over the years have made me realize realistic is not the way to go for me. I need to put in some more contrast. I need to divide the tones and colors and whatever I'm doing in such contrast that is gonna look good in many years. And that's something I think that you have in Japanese tattooing, with the black background, with the colors, bright colors on, like, that's separated in each spot with the like very visible lines. I get you. You wouldn't like to do realistic because you know how to paint realistic. And the same thing with me. I don't do dot work paintings just because I know how to do dot work.
Yeah.
You know,
change it up. But for me, it's all like I'm inspired by so many different art forms as well, and I really like the paintings from the 1600s.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have like outside sources that you look at?
Outside sources. That's funny because my sources come mostly from my home country. When I was a kid, my dad used to have this book from this painting master of Iran, whose name is Fashtian, Mohammed Fashtian, Mahmoud Fashtian, I think. I don't remember. And this book that my father had from this guy is a big book with lots of watercolor paintings in it. And I basically learned how to draw from that book because my dad wouldn't really teach me anything, so he was too busy working all the time. I had to learn it for myself to impress him. So I was taking that book and redrawing every single page of it. Wow. And actually, when we had to move out of Iran, we had over luggage. So my mom was like, all right, we leave the book. I was like, fuck no, I'm going to take it. I brought it in my back. This book is like, I don't know, 15 kilos, maybe more. I brought it in my backpack to Turkey, and I brought it in my backpack from Turkey to Denmark.
Wow.
And I still have it at home right now. And it's still my inspiration of painting, inspiration of a lot of stuff.
You're going to have to show me that book.
Oh, hell yeah. That book has impressed a lot of tattooers. So I love that book. It's one of my main inspirations. Also, I really like to watch some Art Nouveau stuff. Yeah. In my opinion, Art Nouveau is one of the most beautiful art forms existing.
Have you been to Prague?
I haven't. Me and my girlfriend are talking about it a lot. We want to go to the Mucha or Mucha, whatever you want to call it. I say Mucha too, but a lot of people are like, do you mean Mucha? Yeah, whatever.
I was in this print store in Italy,
yeah,
and I was asking for Mucha prints,
yeah,
and they brought me out a cow
yeah.
print. in Italian, that means cow. And I was like, close. But, no. But yeah, in my early days of tattooing, that was like my Bible. I had an Alphonse Mucha book.
Yeah,
and I mean all the leaves and flowers,
the fingers.
Yeah.
Damn, he drew some crazy ass shapes. Mm-hmm. That's what I like about his stuff. Actually, the funny thing is, I have maybe 10, 15 paintings hanging at my place, and half of it is Mucha. So it's like incredible. I love those things, and I watch a lot of his way of putting every single element to such simple shapes and still getting such realistic feeling out of it, such alive feeling out of it. And this is something that happened in 1900s. It's at that time, most things you saw around was classic paintings. Mm-hmm. So when you see these beautiful shapes, something that a lot of new school tattooers would have done today,
sure,
being done at that time is impressing me. Yeah. And also I've been studying about a lot of his references, tried to find some live photos of him working and stuff. And his references looked completely different than what you see on the paintings.
I think he looked at life.
Yeah, he did.
And everything else was
You
designed.
can find some pictures of his models online. Some pictures of him painting his models. And the models look completely different. The only thing that looked the same was the dresses and the positions of the dresses.
Yeah. And
the rest was everything his imagination.
But that's how art was done back then.
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, everything was pretty much inspired by like the Greek ideal.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't in good taste to paint something that was exactly how you saw it.
Yeah.
You had to put an element of design to it.
Yeah.
And so you would take a face and you would, put the best proportions on that face.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you obviously need the model there for the right lighting, the right colors, and even that was manipulated as well. And I see that with photorealistic painting, where everything is exactly how it looks in the photograph, which it's impressive.
It is impressive, but it's not in my taste either. It
doesn't do it for me.
No, I mean, I've seen these guys doing big-ass tiger paintings, which every single fur and everything, like every single little slimy shit they have in the eyes and everything is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, whenever I see that, I'm thinking for myself, why not having a photograph of the tiger?
Yeah.
you know, because I mean, it is impressive, but it doesn't really give me any joy of looking at it. And that's what I think is the most important in art tattooing. That's my reason for saying that you need to have the second look on a tattoo. You need to have that tattoo that deserve the second look. And it's the same with art. If it doesn't touch me, nobody can force me to feel anything.
Sure.
You know,
they can explain it away and try to convince you why it's good.
It's the same. All people I've heard taking a fine art, like education or whatever, they all degree or whatever. They always saying that they're disappointed. And it's all coming from the same thing, that they want to do something more technically correct, and that the teachers are trying to tell them how to do imageful stuff, how to create this and that and environment. And you know, if you don't feel it, you don't feel it.
Sure.
You know, there's nothing you can do about it to make me feel that thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's funny looking back at the ages of art. Along the years, it's all pretty much homogenous. And then nowadays, like, you have somebody that does pointillistic type of painting. You have people that are doing abstract. You have very photorealistic. You have naturalistic painting. Yeah. It's kind of, there's nothing like it. Then
Henning was saying the same thing about tattooing.
Yeah,
he was like, nowadays everybody have a style, you know.
But that's good.
I mean, it's good, but in a way, it's not, because you know. What I see a lot now is, like, we're talking my opinion, and I don't know if anyone cares.
Disclaimer.
But I'm just nowadays a lot of people start doing abstract stuff before they even know techniques of anything.
Yeah,
you know, like, you ask them to do a portrait with oil, for example, they wouldn't be able to, and they call themselves artists because they can throw some paint on a canvas and sell it quite expensive. And then we have people like you, who, in my opinion, is one of the best I've seen.
Damn.
And then, seriously, you're good. And then you have this, you wouldn't be able to sell art as expensive as those guys, because you don't do the image as they want to, as those gallery owners want to. So that's why, in my opinion,
I have no luck in the gallery.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, you know, because you don't do what people expect you to do. Like, you know, you don't do what's the art market sells right now or whatever. You don't have this crazy ass history. I don't know what the fuck it is, but
I was working with this gallery once, and it was really funny because I was painting like skulls and just kind of dark stuff.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh, don't do that. Like, why don't you do something American? Like, can you paint like a baseball glove with a baseball next to it?" And I'm like, "No, are you crazy?" And the funny thing is like, later on that month, one of my paintings sold with a skull, and he goes, "You know, you should paint more skulls."
That's how it goes, right? Whatever sells is the best thing. I mean, for me, there is only one guy who did abstract stuff right, and that's Picasso. Yeah, because he was kind of creator of it. I don't know. Some Italian people around probably doesn't like him, and I don't know. But I would say about him, what I wanted to say about him is not that I don't care how his personality was. I don't care how his old art was. When you look at his history and you see how beautiful portraits he was able to do, how beautiful classic art he used to do, then you get why he's doing what he's doing now, because he changed his style from one thing to the other, and he have the skills for it.
Right. I guess that, I mean, I definitely have to give him credit for that, because it's a choice. Yeah. Where he's choosing to paint a certain way. He obviously had the training and all of that. But I mean, I think that's the thing, and like, you can't. I mean, you can do whatever you want nowadays, but I guess what's more impressive to me is knowing that that person has the chops to do whatever. Exactly. And then it's a personal choice to do it the way that they're doing.
And that's what I'm saying, because I know some artists around that's doing some obstacle work and selling pretty well. And then I talk to that person, and then they go, "Yeah, lately I've been trying to do some more technical stuff." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, I need to learn." And I was like, aren't you an artist? Yeah, but I want to be more technical now. And I'm like, how can you sell so much? She was making a living out of it.
Yeah. All the power to her. I want to talk about this tattoo tour that we have coming.
Oh,
Royal
hell yeah.
Tattoo.
Hell yeah. Tribal Tattoo
It's the
Tour.
Tribal Tattoo Tour. It's going all over the place. But on September 11th, it's going to be at Royal Tattoo.
9/11.
9/11.
Beautiful.
It's a bad timing.
Yeah, not a good date for anything. But I mean, it's easy to remember.
Yeah. But I guess it starts September 10th, and it's going to be in Berlin. And then it's ending September 16th at Electric Avenue, Dan Sin's shop.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's his shop.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm looking forward to it because
I am too.
we're going to have like food trucks. And
Hell yeah, we're going to make it a party.
And a lot of our clients are going to come to it as
Hell
well.
yeah. And a lot of tattooers from Sweden and
Yeah.
other parts of Denmark.
But a lot of great tattooers are coming. I think there's like 16 artists all together. Like some of the headliners are Steve Byrne. Who else do we have? Freddie Corbin. And I'm really looking forward to meeting Freddie Corbin and Scott Sterling.
Me too.
I'd love to talk about tattoo machines with him. Sorry for anybody I missed. There's 16 people, but they definitely have an Instagram. I think it's like the TTT or the Tribal Tattoo Tour.
Tribal Tattoo Tour,
on
yeah.
Instagram.
I
So
mean,
looking forward to that.
If you search for Tribal Tattoo Tour, you would have some pictures with some people holding a poster and stuff. So
Yeah.
you would definitely find some information about it there.
Definitely. But it's cool. I'm looking forward to it. But I don't know, anything that we missed. We went on quite a bit of tangents, but
Yeah.
that's fine. That's what this podcast is all about.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah! It was a pleasure talking to you. I don't know, I can't talk,
Yeah.
I can always talk,
No,
but
I love
I
it.
think we had enough now.
But I think we should do it again, and
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna definitely get Henning on here. I
Hell
keep
yeah.
on nudging him, and so maybe we can do it like a group one or
That would be
whatever.
very fun. Yeah.
We'll see what the cards hold. But other than that, tell us what your Instagram is again, because the last
My
one got hacked.
Instagram is Saeid Tattoo. Oh shit,
No, that's the wrong one.
Saeid Royal Tattoo. So it's SAEID Royal Tattoo.
Royal Tattoo.
Royal Tattoo.
All right, my man. Thank you.
Thank
Love
you,
man.
Brian, my man. See you at work tomorrow.
Yes. Bye.
My man.